This is TWiT. Nicole Lazzaro is the founder of XEODesign. For years, she's been consulting game designers on how to make their games, what would you say, more interesting? More fun.
More fun.
It's a safe word.
There you go,
Nicole,
fun.
welcome to the new Screen Savers. It's great to have you.
Awesome to be here, Leo.
And she bought a magic box with her. This is a very nice case. Is this inside here? This looks like this came from your trip around the world in 1920. Is there something inside here we should...
I don't know. Do I look?
Is there a rabbit in this hat? Inside this is, look at this, she made a perfect case for the Magic Leap headset. Magic Leap has been so hyped over the last 3 or 4 years. Lots of investment, lots of people who saw it couldn't talk about it except to say this is going to be a revolution. It's augmented reality, or what Microsoft calls mixed reality. And I've been skeptical. But I have to say, before the show, you let me play with it, and I'm less skeptical. This is pretty exciting. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this.
Great. Well, this is the Magic Leap 1. It's the Creator Edition.
Yeah.
So this is, essentially, it's the developer kit.
You're not going to be wearing that when Magic Leap comes to market.
Well, not this one, but it'll be a new
It won't
version.
look this goofy, is what I'm saying.
That will be up to them. I don't know.
I don't think I can try it
Yeah,
on. I don't
no,
think
sure,
it actually looks
sure.
that goofy. What's neat about this?
This is neat. Like, look at this. This is really
It's actually, it really feels like next generation design if you've tried the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift, because go ahead, you better do that thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that thing. So you just
I have
open it
a
up
big
like
head.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
And you tilt
just
the
put it
glasses
on your
just
nose.
slightly forward.
Yeah. And then you do that.
Okay. And then the other thing that's kind of interesting is instead of being tethered to a giant old computer, I'm actually, this is the computer. This is the whole thing.
Yeah, this is your light pack, which is the light field display. So the entire computer is in this external device.
Yeah.
It has some fans. You'll feel some air coming out on the side.
It's a little warm, but it's not
too bad.
uncomfortable, and it's not very heavy.
And it's got this really brilliant design in that it's, if you see sideways, we've got
I
room
can clip it
for
on my pocket.
Just clip it on your pocket, yeah.
So, and she said, Nicole said, whatever you do, don't touch that button.
This button right here, right there.
Don't touch that! Because why?
Because if you touch that button, then we'll
the whole
have
world
to,
goes away?
Yeah, the whole world goes away. You come back to reality.
No, it's a 5-minute reboot, so we don't want to do that. Well, first of all, I can see you. I can see you. Oh. So this is augmented reality in the sense that I'm like wearing sunglasses with some stuff superimposed on top of it. So it's not like Vive or Oculus Rift where I can't see anything.
Right. So that's the key difference, is that it's augmented reality in a sense that you can, it's like a pair of sunglasses.
Right.
So you've got, it's slightly, the world gets slightly darker, and then then they project onto the glasses these holograms to get an effect that Magic Leap calls spatial computing.
Okay.
And it isn't just projected onto like your lenses in terms of like a windshield of your car.
Yeah.
It actually projects into the world, so you see the entire, an experience.
It looks
that might
like
fill
it's
the whole
kind of out there, not right here.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things I don't like about Vive and Rift, they make me a little queasy in just a couple of minutes. And there's debate over that. You mentioned latency, like the screen image doesn't quite keep up with your head turn. That would be one reason. They fixed that pretty much, though. These are very fast now. Resolution, maybe, that's part of it, because you've got screens right up here. They're not 8K. But I always thought that it was an issue of the difference between your focal distance and your converging distance. In the real world, when you look at something, your eyes converge, they move in, and you're physically, it's this far away, and it's focusing this far away, and they match.
Right. Yeah.
And our biology is designed that if they don't match, you ate some bad mushrooms, throw up. Right?
Well, and the emotion is disgust. You can actually measure that by the crinkling of your nose.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you're
I don't have that problem with this. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot. You're basically, because you can use it's called framing, and it's a 3-dimensional frame, because you can actually see the real ground or objects in the world, and those move in the way that you would expect your entire life. And then you've got, an overlay, matched into that, meshed into that.
And the overlay doesn't, is there still that kind of convergence focus issue with the overlay, do you think? Or it feels like it's not here, it's there.
Right. The neat thing about the Magic Leap is I believe there are 2 light field displays, so that you can actually get a little bit of focus where you're converging slightly.
So what's a light field display? That's the term they use all the time.
Yeah,
is that a real thing or just a marketing term?
It's a display. It uses a waveguide, from the processor, and it's projecting out that then, puts it into your, that you can then see.
It's not just
through
a
your lens.
screen.
It's yes.
Or like a heads-up display. It's not just reflect. It's like a I think of this like a one-way mirror or a heads-up display where it's reflecting off of a surface that I could see through. It's not working that way?
It's not working that way exactly, no.
It's a little special.
They haven't gone into like the details on how that particular hardware works, but yeah.
So, by the way, how much? $2,500 for this, right?
Yeah, if you get the developer edition, it's a little bit more.
Even more. Okay.
Even more.
So,
plus this brilliant case, you know.
You bought the case. It does not come in such a nice case, although I love this case.
Yeah.
And then there's this controller. Anybody who's used Oculus or Vive will recognize this. This is a pretty standard kind of, with a trigger in front, a button here, and a touchpad here. That's pretty normal. How does this communicate with the Magic Leap?
Yeah, so there's a magnetic sensor on your right-hand side here. There's a small box, that box there.
Okay.
And that's used to get the position. So unlike a number of other vendors that you require the controller to be in your line of sight.
Yeah.
This
can be behind me.
This can actually be
behind
anywhere.
you.
Right.
It knows where it is.
Yeah.
And then this has cameras on it?
Right. So if you get in close, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cameras.
8 cameras?
Yeah.
That's more than my Tesla. What is it doing with all those cameras?
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at, when I'm looking at, I'm looking at the real world, not a video of it, right?
Right. You were looking at the real world, right?
Okay.
Right.
And so what does it need those cameras for?
So those cameras are all being used to create the depth map for the entire space. So when you first put it on, which was slightly before you arrived, you actually walk around the space. And
so you set this up by walking around?
Yeah. And some of the games actually have this fun Easter egg hunt, this easy fun like thing where they put a button over here and you have to go walk towards it, and then as you move to look to like where is the next
just to map it out.
And then that's an activity you do to help the whole platform map
So this
out.
is well mapped out now. It knows this entire studio space.
It knows the entire studio space.
Okay. How long did that take to do?
Just like about a minute or so. Depends on the lighting too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually have the specs. They wrote it down for me. There's an NVIDIA Parker Tegra X2, which this is in the light pack, which is a fairly fast processor, ARM-based processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. Battery life, they say 3 hours. Is that about what you're getting?
I'm getting 2 to 3, definitely.
Okay. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, USB-C. Is this connected via USB to the pack?
Yeah, if you have there's a hub that comes with it, and then you can actually, got it in the case here. So basically one goes into the computer, just by normal USB, and then one goes into the light pack, which is your computer on the.
And that's how you would load new software.
Right. And then one is and then you plug this into the wall.
And this is the charger?
This is the charger, yeah. So that's the charger.
So even though that this is not intended for consumers, this is pretty sweetly designed,
and then the controller comes with its own charger too. This little, I think they called it a wall wart. So this is just just adorable.
It is.
Adorable.
It actually the first wall wart to look like a wall wart.
Yeah.
So this is so that's interesting. They really do want, and I have to say, as weird as I look, I don't look as weird as I do in a VR headset.
It's quite a step better, I think.
And I think, how far off, Nicole, do you think before these kinds of capabilities will be built in something that looks kind of like regular spectacles?
I think it's going to be within a year or two. I mean,
soon.
Yeah, well, the look of ODG's goggles has been, it's been there for a while. It's getting towards Ray-Ban, kind of coolness and quality.
Wow. All right, and I have to say, the experience is pretty cool. We're going to play a game. This is a Halloween game, appropriately, that you designed in a weekend.
Right, yeah, I developed in a weekend.
Now, I'm going to walk around a little bit, and you can tell me what I'm seeing. One of the things that's amazing on this is, because the computer is on my belt, I completely move around. Is this what they call 6 degrees of freedom? How many degrees of freedom?
It's 6 degrees of freedom, yeah. 3 degrees is like you're rotating like a record or a ballerina.
Yeah.
And 6 degrees is where you can actually...
up and down?
Well, you can, basically it's, left, right, and up and down is 3, but being able to walk forward into a scene.
The Z,
and then
the
be able
axis.
to go up and down, right? So you can like look under the table if you wanted to.
There's no pumpkins there, but there's a pumpkin right there. Now, this is called Pumpkin Bash.
Pumpkin Smash.
Smash.
So it's a game jam,
So by looking at these, you can see they're disappearing. Now, I can see, look, there's a pentagram with pumpkins in them. Should I do something with that? I'm scared. This is spooky.
You never know.
It's hard to describe this. I know you're seeing the video, and by the way, we can see the field of view right now because of just the way the lighting is. there's kind of a box.
Yep.
But normally, the field of view is kind of disappears.
Right. It depends on, it's all on the way, it's a new way of thinking about design. I've been working on our other game, which is Follow the White Rabbit for VR.
Yeah.
And what you want to do, this one I did for AR first.
So this is admittedly a simple game because you wrote it in a weekend. I just want to emphasize that. And the reason that's interesting is that you were able to. You wrote it in a weekend using Unity, right?
Correct, yeah, Unity and C#. And then I got the forest assets and the ghosts and the pumpkins from the Unity asset store. So I didn't need to,
You didn't design them.
I didn't need to
have
partner
to
with an artist.
Let me see how many pumpkins I have now. Oh, there's one. Hey, get out of here. Go. All right.
Do you want to try the other one?
Yeah, let's try another one. So now I'm in it looks like a Parisian cafe. There's the doors. There's the manifestos on the wall. There's a top hat. Oh, there's the Eiffel Tower being built. Okay, well, that puts us in time. What? Uh-oh. There's some
What'd you do?
broken tea set on the ground that disappeared when I looked at it. Carrots. What is going on in here? And there's a painting on the wall. It's kind of, oh, wait a minute. It's not a painting at all. It's a puzzle, and I'm putting it together here. Oh, look at that. All I have to do is find the pieces. Okay, I'm going to confess to you, I've played this once before. So,
Where were they?
Oh, drink me. No, I don't want to drink that. Not yet.
That's for after the show.
That's later. I think that goes there. The idea of this is a puzzle, right?
Right, yeah, so this is an escape room. The game is called Follow the White Rabbit, and it's a series of escape rooms around the world. It's a game about a magician who's been a charlatan like all his life.
Oh, so you might play this in different rooms all over the world.
Yeah.
Cool. This is fun. Yeah. So this is another game. This is a game you wrote for VR.
Right. And I've just done my first port to Magic Leap, and now what you can see is that by the room, it's a fully occluded room, which works okay on Magic Leap, but really the value of AR is going to be when I drop the walls out and then put
these are just objects in my room. As opposed to this room that you built.
Right.
So that's what you do in VR. You build an entire space, but in AR you're not going to do that, right?
Yeah, you want to basically pull the walls out and then dynamically place the furniture and the puzzles and all that in the room that you're actually in.
Right. But what's interesting about both of these is that these are it's not hard to write experiences in the Magic Leap. And what I really like is that you don't feel disoriented. You're still in your space. If somebody came in, you could have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Some might say, well, that means it's not as immersive. And
well, just imagine like having two Magic Leaps, and then we're both solving this puzzle room together.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
One of the problems, of course, with virtual reality is the inability to interact with the environment. And you see here, it's not exactly. I have to look at something, it grabs it, and then it puts it up on this puzzle piece.
Right.
This works, but one of the big differences is I can't walk around in an arbitrary space,
and
which
then,
I love.
This is like, with Follow the White Rabbit, this is just the first port, so I haven't written code to place things, on the different surfaces.
Right.
But many of the other experiences, and this is the real advantage for what augmented reality is, and spatial computing, is you really want to have the things like really the virtual object and the real objects, sitting in that same world. So we would dynamically place the puzzle pieces on your real thing.
Yeah.
And then you want to be able to duck behind, your duck behind the wall or duck behind a couch. Or
so I could look behind this and not have seen it until I look behind it.
Exactly.
And that couch is real. Yeah. It's my couch in my living room.
Well, then
there's something behind it.
We put a puzzle piece like underneath on
this
the bottom
table.
Surface on the table.
So you
have to look at the bottom of the table, and then you can pull it out, right?
And that's why Microsoft calls this mixed reality.
It's mixed reality.
Real reality.
Yeah. Well, that's why Magic Leap calls it spatial computing.
That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about developing it for it. You've developed games on every platform out there. In fact, people may not know, but you wrote the very first iPhone game.
Right. I designed the very first iPhone game.
What was that called?
Yeah. So it was a game called Tilt.
Tilt?
Yeah.
And you would tilt the colors?
Yeah, basically you just tilt the colors. It came out a week after the iPhone did, and all you did is it was falling blocks, and so you had green one way and blue the other way, and you just earned points, you just tilted it.
I remember it. So you're no stranger to writing on a brand new platform.
Right.
How hard was this to write for?
It wasn't hard as, to get something out that was quick and easy.
Yeah.
So I haven't opened up the gesture API. I haven't done dynamically placed stuff.
There's a lot more.
There's a lot more.
It's down that rabbit hole, if you want,
exactly.
if you will. Yeah,
exactly.
Have you worked with the HoloLens at all? Have you done anything with the HoloLens?
I've done a little bit of experiments. I haven't shipped an app on HoloLens, but.
Yeah. Do you have some sense of the difference in developing?
The path to me was a lot more intuitive on the Leap.
They're starting from scratch. I mean, HoloLens is basically a Windows product.
Right, and it has a very Windows sort of feel. So if you're in enterprise, developer in enterprise, you'll probably feel a little bit more home, at home. And I think also it is the it influences the type of apps that are there too.
Well, exactly right. And I really feel like Microsoft with HoloLens is much more interested in UI and a different way of dealing with business information, rotating Excel spreadsheets, things like that, than they really are building Minecraft on a table. They show that, but you can kind of get it's going to be more of an enterprise product. This sounds like it's a lifestyle product, not anything in particular, but just a life. They want people to have this in their home and
And they also want creative stuff too. They're really focused. How they're different from HoloLens is that Magic Leap is really focused on the creators.
Right.
And so they want to have a wide portfolio, and you can see it with I just got back from LeapCon, and with the slate that they announced there.
Yeah.
So you have Dr. Gorbort's, which is kind of a robot shooter game. You have Angry Birds, which is super casual.
Angry Birds in this.
Yeah. So basically, it's an FPS. They said a first-person slingshot. And so
we're not shooting anything. We're just slingshotting.
Yeah. So basically, it'll scan your room, and you place it. You place the world on your table, and then instead of just doing the side-scrolling kind of thing, you have a 3D pile of crates and lots of pigs.
Interesting.
And then you point and pull back. And then slingshot your bird, into that pile. Yeah.
Sounds very engaging.
And then Tonandi is great. It's like it's an interactive music experience.
Yeah.
And so it just turns your whole world into this like underwater kind of wonderful, sea ambient stuff with beautiful jellyfish and seagrass that grows up, and then you can interact, schools of fish that you can
See, I almost think that's maybe the most interesting use of this is kind of non-traditional gameplay, more experiential stuff.
More experiential stuff on one hand, and then also, mixed reality. It's really about it's a box of crayons, right?
Right.
It's got, no matter whether you were in games or film, we've always had a box with 3 crayons, a red, a green, and a blue.
Yeah.
And you've created great experiences, but with mixed reality, you have a 4th crayon, which is depth. Okay?
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I argue that if you're not able to play the experience on depth map alone, then you really aren't, mixed reality. And I think a lot of games that have gone on into VR headsets have been simply, okay, the menus are 3D, but it's still basically the same game.
Yeah.
And so
this is very interesting.
Yeah. So it's experiential, but I really want to emphasize is that you want to really, as a designer, you want to rethink, well, how is it that I'm actually moving through the room? This is lightweight enough, and then with the pack on you, you kind of almost forget that you're wearing it.
Right.
And then what I did with Pumpkin Smash is just the feeling of going through a spooky forest, Little Red Riding Hood or whatever, or the Great Pumpkin, right? And that you wanted to move as part of that.
Yes.
So the player is actually the joystick, right?
Yes.
The player is not just a remote little button thing that I'm doing, but me and my body. And that embodied computing, the embodied component of it, that's what really is making these experiences different.
Where do we stand right now with this Magic Leap? What do you feel like? Is this like Atari VCS days? How close are we to something really?
I've been in the VR space pretty much, especially with White Rabbit for like the past 3 years. I've ported it onto every headset that's come out, just to see like
that's
what's
a great
going on.
experience. Take the same game and put it on different platforms.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we were really early, obviously, on this one. This is definitely a very different experience. And if you think about what AR is and, full-on VR headset, it's just a matter of how much of the world you see.
Yes.
You're fully occluded in VR headsets. You're sort of blended.
And I don't like that. And I'm really engaging with this. Although
it makes a lot of people more comfortable to not...
Much more comfortable.
But
it also feels more ghostly. It doesn't feel quite as solid as VR.
Right. One of the challenges is that it is, I think as a designer, on the design side and art side, it's really about, it's additive light. A lot of developers are finding that, like what a workshop has done, Dr. Gordbort's Invaders.
Right.
And what they did is they had the robots come in through portals that dynamically place on the wall and on the ceiling. And what they did is they made the portals kind of very steampunky, and because they have these really nice, specular highlights on the welding and on the bolts that are on that, you actually believe there's black there.
Yeah.
And it's really seamless, and it really sells it wonderfully. So
that's one of the problems is you can't make black.
You can't make black
because that's see-through.
Because it's see-through, right? Yeah. But if you look at it, and it's like,
but I see, people.
But yeah, it's like because your eyes, like I was talking with I think it was George about who's the project lead, that basically your eye goes to the brightest bit, and so
it doesn't see the.
It's just not looking at those seams, so it just believes that it's that it's there.
So people are going to learn this new vocabulary. This is kind of like Oculus was in the very first Oculus Rift, which I did buy in the Kickstarter and all
there
that
you go.
stuff. But it's very early days.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. It sounds like you think this is going to happen pretty quick.
It's going to happen. I think that the quality of the apps that got released at LeapCon this week are definitely up there. They're still in a somewhat demo phase.
Right. It didn't take long for VR to go from $2,500 to $1,500, and now with the new Oculus, $300.
The price point has to go down, obviously, before mass
market. It's got to do the same thing for that.
Yeah, and then the other thing it has to do is the content has got to be really broad. And I think that's something that Magic Leap has done really well. That the catalog is that they've got something for
it's a chicken and egg.
Casual.
You've got to get this out, get developers and creators to play with it.
Well, but there's also conscious curation. And I think Magic Leap has done a really good job of, you have Tonandi, which is a very experiential, beautiful piece. And then you've got an action thing, you've got a creativity thing. You're hitting on all of the different types of the way that human beings play.
Yeah. Because what Magic Leap does now to creators will inform what creators end up doing.
Yeah, and I've worked on, if you think of every transition of computers, every 10 years they do, and then so like with the CD-ROM, there's always a breakout hit. Like CD-ROM, it was Myst.
Right.
With low-cost color PCs, it was The Sims.
Right.
With downloadable content, it was Diner Dash. Mobile phones, it was Angry Birds.
Right.
Right. And AR, it's Pokemon Go.
And all of those are very different.
They're very different,
they're
all casual mass market.
And they're all casual mass market games.
Yeah, not necessarily. And then obviously there's hardcore games along the line too.
So that's what we're waiting for this.
So
that's the breakout hit.
The breakout. What is the breakout hit? And oftentimes it's a casual. So that's why with Follow the White Rabbit, it's escape rooms. It's very
interesting.
It's very.
I love the escape room idea. That's fun.
Yeah. We're having a lot of fun, a lot of really good, a lot of good reactions to it too. And we didn't even go into, I think we should just briefly, the apps we showed are first ports, so it didn't even take into account. There are, I think, 8 hand gestures this recognizes.
We didn't even do those.
Didn't even do those. It also tracks your eyes. So when I do a motion, I like.
So there's a camera inside pointing at
There's cameras. There's eye tracking. And so back a couple years ago, I actually worked with iFluence and helped them design a hands-free productivity app, which is just using your eyes. So you could word process.
I could kill those pumpkins just by looking at them.
Just at looking at them, and then take that a step forward. You could actually then do facial action coding. Paul Ekman's facial.
I'm smiling. I'm crying.
Well, there's 7 emotions you can measure in the face, and those cameras are kind of close. So we're really interested in taking that apart and seeing.
There's a whole lot more to be done in this.
There's a whole lot more to be done.
Very interesting.
Yeah, but the big picture is that it does sense your space. It will create a depth map, and so you want to have not just place your your Legoland.
You need a big room.
And you want to be able to move around in there. Right?
So this was a perfect room for that.
Yeah. And then the other game that I played at LeapCon by Insomniac, it's just really cute. It's called Seedling. And just like little Groot up here is basically you get a field kit from a galaxy that's losing.
I want to play this. Tell us about
so basically you get this little field kit, not unlike this famous suitcase.
Yeah. Except it's virtual.
It's virtual, right? So it's just basically virtual. You open it up and then you get this little seedling, right? And a field guide.
Yeah.
And then you basically you basically plant it. And you can plant it in the real world on your bookshelf, for example.
Yeah.
And then week by or day by day.
You have to take care of it.
You have to take care of it. Yes.
Put on the Magic Leap. Oh, I gotta water you.
Water it, and you have to prune it a little bit. You have to peel the blight off of it if it gets sick. And then what's really cool is that if you put it in a bookshelf, where you had two sides, it'll actually grow, in response
into
to
the
that.
real world objects.
Into the real world objects. Yeah, it'll get you see
Don't move
kind of
those
bonds.
books now, though, because you're going to really confuse it.
Right.
Wow.
And then you go through a series of these little seedlings. So I think that's amazing. So again, like there's a lot of, I really love how they're coming up with a wide variety of titles because it's getting through all the different types of ways that people like to play. And that's really important for a platform because you want the whole family to be this, not just the one hardcore gamer. And there's definitely going to be, hardcore, stuff on here as well. But you want to have those wide variety of experiences.
I mean, we get the form factor right. You wear this all day long. I mean, I can't stop playing Pokemon Go.
There you go.
If I had, I would never come to work.
Nicole. Well, work would come to you.